As I was leaving, the teacher, I think it was Larry, I forget Larry's last name, Don, we're so glad that you were here. Our students don't really get to engage black people. I had one student in this class, Joe. Now Joe wasn't a little bright, but Joe was black. And I said, Larry, but you have Joe here, what about Joe? Oh, we don't see him as black. You can be legitimized if in some way or fashion you become safe. He became safe because they were able to make him more like them. Good evening, Doc. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I guess perhaps I need to say, our guest for the evening on What's Up With That is not a stranger. It's Dr. Eric McDaniel, professor at Univerity of Texas in the government department. He specializes in black politics and religion. Doc, it's been a minute since we've seen you, but we're always glad to have you here. So I'm gonna say once again, welcome. And next time I see you, I ain't even have to say welcome, right?
Yes, I'm glad to be back. I'm very glad to be back.
We are glad to have you back on this evening. We're here tonight to have an interesting conversation on a topic. I sort of broached it and you sort of expanded it a little bit, right? Right now, what we're seeing in politics, and I'm going to say in this Trump era, we are seeing more religion being expressed. Not only being expressed, more religious engagement in a political sphere with this president, right? And so I wanted to come together and just talk about that. I mean, it's heavy laden, in my view, right? And what does that mean for us, and really what's going on? Because I think if I were to start this, and I'm going to say want to look at politics generally, want to sort of lay some groundwork, and then there are two brothers that we want to look at because the heaviness has been seen, and I say this president, through the political right, right? Republicans, has not been so pronounced within the left wing Democrats. But we are seeing an emergence of that within the Democratic side of the House. I want to have a conversation about that, and specifically two brothers, right? One that is making headlines because of his religious beliefs, because of his articulation of religion and politics and the way he's doing it, and another perhaps who's doing the same thing and is not seen in the same kind of way. Right? So we want to sort of move in that direction on this evening. But just want to begin with, is religion in politics something new? Or is this something that's been around for a while?
No, it's not new at all. I would, it's always the argument of which came first, politics or religion. But, the thing about it is often religion is there to make the politics legitimate. And the religion is there to inform your politics. That's what a lot of people would say. But the linkage between religion and politics is not new at all. If you read your Bible, you'll see, the leaders of the temple were actively working with elected officials or the appointed officials.
Sanhedrin Council, right?
Yeah. And so they are this is not new at all.
Okay. So then the question would be, what's changing? It would appear to me that as we look at it, number one, it's more explicit. It's more overt, right? We've always known it. There's always that season when you have the politicians who will visit churches, and I won't say especially our black churches. We'll hit that, but especially our black churches. So it's always been there. And if you have a little age on you, you know it's always been there because you've seen it in certain seasons. You understand that President's court, especially the religious right, right? But it seems to be more explicit for one. What other factors might be there that's created this kind of change that we're seeing it so overtly right now?
The rise of Christian nationalism, I think, has brought people out to at least talk about this. You know, the extent to which this is performative, it's not clear, but this has been building up for really the past 4.5 decades.
But they just haven't had anyone to push it.
No,
Is that?
Not this overt.
Yeah. And it's almost as if, I mean, because we certainly, as we've known it existed, we've certainly not talked about it in terms of Christian nationalists.
Yes.
Right? Those are terms that we didn't use. That's a term that's almost connected directly to the MAGA movement.
Yeah, we're talking about white Christian nationalism. That's it right there. So Christian nationalism, the idea that you believe the nation should be governed under Christian principles, or Christian principles play a very large role in shaping the nation. I think a lot of people would say that. But what Christian principles?
Yeah,
and that's why I make it very clear this is white Christian nationalism.
Yeah, and I would contend on some levels that it's gone beyond just beliefs. It's God.
Yeah.
God created America for Christians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That America first piece. Right.
Yeah.
Ordained by God.
Yes.
It's for me. It's gone to it. It's beyond just a belief. It's a mandate.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes, and that is it can get a lot of things done if people believe that. Now, whether these things are good or bad is up to people to decide. But nobody says God's against us, but let's go ahead and try this anyway. They believe God is with them, and I think a lot of people who've done great evil didn't realize they were evil when they were doing it, and they felt God was on their side. I've spent the past week reading work by clergy who were defending slavery.
Okay.
And they swore up and down that they were right. If you read the stuff from Bob Jones or Jerry Falwell and their religious defense of segregation, they swore up and down they were right. Now, Falwell would apologize later, and we would get the apology from Bob Jones' great grandson. But yeah, they believed they were right. They believed God was with them the whole way.
And it was God ordained. But in this political season, is there perhaps a danger, because what's happening now is the political right sees themselves as the defenders of God, right? So great division, and great division established within this Trump era. Great division. And it's no longer that there's a disagreement with my opponent, right? It's if you disagree with me, you are evil, you are an evil force, and what you're doing is you're going against what God wants.
Yep.
And not only are you my enemy, but you're now God's enemy. What does that do for us as a nation?
Nothing good. This is extreme polarization, and this is how you burn a nation out.
Okay.
And this is not about hope. This is about priming disgust, fear, and anger.
Okay, would that be power and control?
Yeah, and you are no longer thinking about building; you're thinking about destroying.
Well, if I'm defending God in my mind, because that also impacts, right? That impacts laws, right? Laws that govern educational systems, how folk are being educated, i.e. charter systems, and they're just about ready to throw away public school systems, right? That's a danger because who's being hurt when you do that?
Oh, I mean, the problem with this is it cuts a lot of voices out.
Okay.
And this all or nothing approach is really going to end up with nothing. And it'll eat away at itself. That the idea that you think you're doing it for God, there have been a lot of evil things done that people thought they were doing because God said.
Okay.
If you look at the Crusades and the slaughters that took place, they thought, this God was okay with this. Again, we mentioned slavery. We can think about various aspects of colonialism, having entire civilizations wiped out because you believe God ordained it. Okay,
so in the process, and I do see it wearing out. I think sometimes we go too far. I think we have a president administration that's gone too far. Season's going to play out, but the damage is left behind. The damage that some of it unrepairable, and some of it it's fixable, but the length of time is going to take to fix, right? The number of people who are impacted through laws that affect communities of people, right? That affects education, that affects the democratic process, right? And some might even say the church itself.
Yeah. I do not see the church coming out well in this. There's already evidence that the people who are going unaffiliated are leaving because of the politics of the church.
Okay.
And the thing about the separation of church and state is that it provided a lot of competition and it provided multiple voices. But what you have going on right now is an attempt to basically say the state and the church have the same voice. And that does not work well.
Is that why our current president could dress up like Jesus and challenge the Pope? That I find interesting, but I'm really interested to see how that plays out.
Okay. Because I find it interesting that they elected an American Pope, the first American Pope, with President Trump. And I don't know.
I'm sure that wasn't by design. I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm wondering to what degree was that they're kind of thumbing their nose at him. Now, I do think that if the Pope continues in terms of his opposition and shaping opposition, imposing opposition to Trump, that when this all falls apart, the Catholic Church will be able to say, look, we stood up. Because when it came to the Nazis, they didn't.
Okay.
I'm not saying President Trump is a Nazi, but there are examples of atrocities that the church has stood by and allowed to happen, or they've allowed strong men to come in and abuse power. I do think that if they continue this, that they may have a moral high ground in the end.
Okay. What does that say then for the rest of the Protestant churches? That would be affected because still that's the church, universal, right? But still, as we look at other Protestant churches who are being impacted, inevitably, right? And what they do or don't do, will it be legislated? Or will it be based on theology, or will it be enforced by government? That's a very real possibility.
No, I think the attempt by the government to try to control what's being said in churches, I don't think it's around the corner, but I could say it might be down the block.
Okay. So are we seeing now, potentially, two different kinds of spiritualities, traditions out there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the problem I think a lot of people have right now with the role of religion in politics is the lack of sincerity. That religion is there more for power than it is for its prophetic voice. And I know, a great example of this would be Russell Moore. Not liberal at all. He has been getting messages, he reported getting messages from preachers whose members doubted that the Sermon on the Mount was real. It was like, well, this is some woke mess. Jesus didn't say that. So they're now denouncing the Sermon on the Mount and saying, no, that's not real.
Okay.
And that's because of politics.
Okay. So are we then seeing that from a more nationalist perspective, and that's a religious tradition based on politics and from a nationalistic perspective, opposed to the traditional love thy neighbor, forgive, take care of folk who can't take care of themselves. They juxtapose each other.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more, in many ways, pronounced.
Yes, it is. That what we have right now is a kind of a Christianity that was, you can think of it in the classic mold, that is concerned about salvation, but also concerned about helping the neighbor. Right. And providing services, providing care. And then we have another that is much more focused on acquiring power.
Yeah.
And this one over here, I would say it's trying to bring about hope. This one over here is focused on disgust, fear, and anger. And there's only so far you can get with that before it starts to eat on itself. Okay.
And I guess for me, in all of that, that word that sometimes we stay away from, power, the disgust, the fear, that's gaining power over.
Yeah.
Right. So we're seeing right now, as it's just laid out in a general kind of way, in this new era, a new kind of tradition, religious tradition, being built out. Will it be able to stand or not? But the political piece that has a strong Christian nationalist bent over against the traditional.
So I think the idea of, when we think about the U.S., we think about religious freedom. That people came over to the colonies because they want to have religious freedom. We think about the Puritans, and the Puritans talk about how they're persecuted, but don't talk about the fact that there are more Puritans in England who were rabble rousers than there were in the colonies. Okay. They also don't talk about the fact that when they settled in Massachusetts, that they chased the Quakers and the Baptists out of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And this is why you get Rhode Island. They actually had laws against Quakers, because Quakers would oppose the Puritans. That anybody preaching Quakerism the first time would have a beating, second time loss of an appendage, third time death.
Okay.
So the Puritans were not the nicest people.
Okay.
And you have the colonies and other areas that are being settled. You had Maryland, which at first early was Catholic colony, but the Protestants came in, and kind of outnumbered them. They passed a law stating that if a Protestant man married a Catholic woman and they had children, and the man dies, that the state had the power to take the children away from the mother. You had other states ban priests in Catholic churches altogether. We can think about the fact that the state of Missouri declared war on Mormons. Okay. The treatment of Native Americans with the ghost dance. So we have not necessarily been okay with religious freedom. And that's one thing. And this Christian nationalism we're seeing now is not new, because it's almost as if the religion of the lost cause, what kind of came about in the South after the Civil War, has now become the national religion. And the way we think about it is this extremely kind of religious fundamentalism, this idea that we're God's chosen people, and that it is our job to go out and save the world from all these heathens.
Bring them back to God.
Yeah. And if you look at the way it's playing out a lot like Southern politics. You know, you've got the populist rhetoric. You've got the guy in charge who is, openly corrupt, but you're not going to challenge him, trying to create a one-party system. This is Southern politics gone national. And it's the religion of the lost cause moving from the South to being embraced by my entire nation.
And does that have a certain kind of, I want to use the word danger. What I'm hearing you say is we've been here before.
Yeah.
We'll survive it. I see that, I believe that. But the damage along the way, the carnage.
Oh, there's going to be a great deal of damage.
The carnage that's going to be left behind. That some of us might not see the day that it's cleaned up. We will die in it, right? Before we see a resurfacing.
Yeah.
And then the traditional will not be a traditional, because I want to talk about that as we close out, right? What's happening here. At any rate, it's here, it's impacting. Seen it before. There is an assurance from the professor of religion and politics. There is an assurance that we'll get through this. All right?
I think we will. I mean, the problem is the South still embraces the religion of the lost cause in many ways. And I do think that there are enough voices out there to push back on this. And I think the constant focus on fear, anger, and disgust will eat away at itself. And there will come a time when the churches can't answer questions, where what the church is telling them and what their lived experiences are no longer line up. And that's when the church will be in trouble. And especially right now, when we look at the politics, that there are a lot of people who are kind of buying in for a short-term gain, but a long-term loss.
Yeah. And you said that short-term, and someone begin to hear voices. That sort of maybe is a kind of a transition as we want to sort of move. And what we see, and I guess just as we look at what's there generally with Christian nationalist kind of movement going on, America first. If you are not for me, you are my enemy, and not only are you're my enemy, you are an enemy of God. You are an evil force that has to be reckoned with, right? And all coming from a language you mentioned, old, right? That kept black folks slaves, that ravaged Indians of their land as they began to build institutions, universities, Harvard, etc. Rather than letting black folk go into their schools, they had to build them and then serve them, right? Indians who they'd allow to go to school, but only to control them, right? So there was this piece that says, if you are white, you have the power because you're called by God, right? And somewhere there is a sense of coming back to that, i.e., women, the folk who've been put out of offices, and the real deals because of perhaps race, gender equity, because there's somewhere in that gender roles matter, and gender roles still need to be what they were. Essentially, woman at home, barefoot and pregnant, and do what I say do. Right? But will they hear another voice? And I'm going to transition for a second, because I think yes might be that as we move, we've seen what religion and politics can do. We've seen it from a nationalist perspective. We understand that it's always been subtly driven. Perhaps there was a time it was very vocal, but it became more subdued, right? More quiet. Always there, always just at the surface. Always seeking to raise voices, but subtly so. We've seen this period of where it's just open out. Some have said Christianity now is loud, and some folk are having a hard time with that, because for some folk it's almost too loud. And it begs the question: is this what Christianity really is?
That is a great question. There's a book by a philosopher, Jacques Ellul, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and he has a book titled The Subversion of Christianity. And in it, he argues that once Christianity became institutionalized, it lost its revelation. That institutionalizing it, creating all these types of rules, things like that, constrained it, and it failed to give the revelatory message of Christ, and
the prophetic word.
The prophetic
word.
And that it became caged, and if we think of Constantine, and his proclamation of becoming a Christian and moving Christianity to the top of the religions amongst the Romans, it's seen as they lost control of it. It was now in the hands of the Roman Empire. It was no longer in the hands of the Christians.
In the hands of government.
Yes.
It's in the hands of government. And when government begins to legislate, things begin to happen, and what you once had begins to change. Is that fair? Okay. But there can be a voice. And that's bringing me to the point that oftentimes that's been seen most profoundly on the religious right. We are seeing on the left side of the house new voices being raised, and raised not only within the political sphere, but within that political sphere, including religious language.
Yeah.
Teachings, preachings. And in this day and age, 2026, you have, and I would like to mention two, because I also think between the two, it says something about what's going on in the world today, right? One is going to be, and the one who is probably received the most homage is James Tallarico of Austin, Texas, running for the Texas Senate, right?
Yep.
He has, in the last year, been very vocal in terms of his faith, has been very vocal as he articulates faith, the teachings of Jesus, into his political speeches, right? And folk are falling in love, have fell in love with James Tallarico.
Yes.
And what he's doing. One, can we just for a moment put on the table, what does James Tallarico bring to the table that's giving him this kind of attention and creating the kind of fascination that he is about what he has to say?
Well, I'm gonna start off with a disclaimer. He is one of my former students. He took my black church and black politics course 15 years ago. I don't know if he remembers anything from that course, but one of the things I think he's been able to do is he's been able to articulate it in a way that is digestible for a lot of individuals.
Okay.
And he is able to, while everybody else is shouting, he talks calmly. And because of that, he provides, I think, maybe a sense of peace amongst many people. But he is coming in with the credential, like, look, I grew up in the church. I'm in seminary. This is me.
So when he talks to them, he's credible.
Yeah, so he's credible. Yeah.
He's credible. Okay. But he's also, in doing this, he's very strategic. And when we talk about what's going on, I'm going to say on our side of the house, the Democratic side of the house, he's very strategic. There are also some cultural dimensions going on here. So, I mean, it's theological, it's cultural, it's multidimensional in many ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost as if he kind of knows what he's doing, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, he was president. I think when he was here, he was president of the UT Student Government Association.
Okay.
So he knows politics, but that does not mean his faith is not real.
And not in any way insinuating that.
Yeah.
Just looking at what it is.
Yeah.
I will vote. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say the sister was my choice, but he's there.
Yeah.
He has my vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He's good. Not in any way, but just want to sort of set it up because I also want to bring to the table a Ralph Warnock or
Ralph Warnock, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who I think is very articulate, and I don't want to sort of move there now. I want to just sort of distinguish between the two, but also want to bring him to the table. And as we begin to move beyond who they are and what they bring to the table, ask some of those more pertinent questions, right?
Yeah.
So just not in any way discrediting.
Oh no, I'm much older.
He's a great politician. He's doing some good things, and he's not playing partisan politics. I don't think. I think he doesn't want. I think he can be very, very bipartisan, right? I think he's concerned about all people, but at the same time, he's doing something. And I don't want to say that no one else is. He's doing something that others are doing, but he's gaining gravitas. He's gaining accolades. He's reaching across the lines for some of those moderate mega folk who are not so sure about the MAGA movement right now. And he's reaching, for lack of better, he's beginning to reach the masses. He's crossing lines. What's allowing him to be able to do that and allow, and I don't know if his voice is allowed to be heard, or is it just a matter of and I'll say more about that a little bit later, or is it just the messenger who brings in the cultural dimension of what's going on and what's also making him effective?
I think he is able to articulate a very clear theological argument on the part of the left that stands up to white Christian nationalism. And being in Texas and standing up to that in a clear and articulate way, I think is why he's received so much attention. He knows how to speak the language of a lot of people that are in the MAGA movement. He knows their language. And
Okay, in that language, he knows that language because he like him, right?
yeah.
He's white.
Yeah.
He's Southern, right?
Yeah.
He's credible because he's seminary trained.
Yeah.
He taught. He doesn't. The sense is he doesn't just quote scripture, but he's thinking theologically,
Yeah.
right? So he's embraceable, and not only that, he's also. I'm not sure why. Seen as novel. He's disrupting
Yeah.
the main thought, and he's getting away with it.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of it because he's white, he's Southern, he's Christian. Right? That's working for him.
Yeah, I know there's been a really strong critique of people of treating him as if his message is new, even though there are people who have and continue to do this who are people of color, and there's a concern that people of color are invisible to white liberals.
Okay. Is that true? And I'm going to say, is it true? Because want to talk about, in the midst of that, Ralph Warnock.
Yes.
Right? Who is Senator, Georgia, who is doing a great job, who is seminary trained, and not only with an MDiv, a master's in philosophy, a PhD in systematic theology. Incredible. Mm-hmm. He's like Tellerico, rooted in the church. Some would say Tellerico is not a Christian politician. He's a Christian talking to other Christians, and he can talk almost as a pastor more than a Democrat. Mm-hmm. Warnock is a pastor, right? And he comes from black tradition. Some respects liberation theology, justice, dignity, and you're right. What Tellerico is doing is not new, because a lot of what he's touting is almost liberation theology, akin to black theology.
Yeah.
So.
This, I think, what it speaks to is a major problem for black people in general, is that we are invisible to whites, whether they're conservative or liberal. That what we do is always treated as new, or they've just discovered it, and this is a source of frustration.
Okay.
That we have been the prophetic voice for the nation, for 400 years, but we're unheard.
Okay.
And this is not something that, Representative Tellerico has done, but it's something about what's wrong with us as a nation, that you allow these individuals to go be invisible.
Okay. And so would you say that race is a factor, and a very real factor?
Yeah.
as we bring that to the table, as we look at whose voice is heard and whose is not. You mentioned the tone
Yeah.
of Tallarico, calm. Some would say that Warnock, black church tradition, prophetic, sometimes could be a little hard, moral, as we talk about morals. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm not hearing it correctly. When I hear him use scripture, as I've seen him as he makes his YouTube clips or IG, I don't hear the prophetic voice. I hear, maybe it's just me, a calm, measured brother sharing from a theological perspective.
He is well trained. I mean, he's better trained than Representative Tallarico because he's had more time to do it, and I think Representative Tallarico is working his way to that. There is,
but in that same vein, Tallarico is lauded as that is new. He's the unexpected.
Yeah.
Right? And Warnock is just. We heard that from you, Fo. We've heard that already from you. We heard that from Martin Luther King, right?
Yeah.
You're not new. But it's a voice that matters. And are they not really saying the same thing?
I think very much they are. We have a problem in America where, and white liberals suffer from this as well. And this is not just white liberals, but even some black people suffer from it. Is that you don't gain legitimacy until somebody white agrees with you, and that is problematic.
Okay. Now, with that statement, does that also say not only do you not gain legitimacy, but unless white folk, that white audience, legitimates you, they can numb a dull your voice?
That is the concern, and that is, one of the things that Mays and Nicholson said when they're talking about the genius of the black church is they talked about somebody at the bottom has so much freedom that they can challenge all of these things. And so that is something that the black preacher had, is that being at the bottom gave him the freedom to talk about all of these things. And the fear becomes that once the group that has been at best negligent and at worst overly oppressive of you, all of a sudden begins to accept you, well, then you start moving up. And the fear is that you'll lose that prophetic voice because you don't want to lose that position you have. And I think that these individuals being able to amplify and mute the voice is problematic. And it speaks to the lack of, of control that black people want to have over their destiny. And I think Raphael Warnock is amazing. He's written books. He's done quite a bit, and I also believe Representative Tallarico is well trained. He's on his way there, but I do think that the problem necessarily isn't those individuals.
Right.
It's the people outside.
It's those who are able to legitimate.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And so who are, you mentioned, who are those just that can legitimate. We're looking at for white folk, his novel. It's something new, right? Is it really something new? And are we looking? Have we reached a point that the gospel message needs to be rebranded or reclaimed?
Yeah.
And if so, well, one, you said, yeah, go.
I think the one thing I think about with the rise of the moral majority and the religious right is that it came in 1980, and they rode in on the heels of Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
And Ronald Reagan was going up against Jimmy Carter, who was a Southern Baptist. Reagan, earlier in his career, had signed one of the most liberal abortion laws that was in the nation. He had been married multiple times. You know, he was not necessarily known for. He had a past. Jimmy Carter didn't have that. Jimmy Carter had actually tried to put some controls on abortion, but they fell in love with Reagan. Now, Reagan also was vehemently opposed to the civil rights movement. And you can think about his resistance to the MLK holiday.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter was much more open. That they hitched their bag on Reagan and completely pushed Carter to the side makes you question what exactly is going on here. Because Carter is one of you.
Okay.
And Carter has taken a stand on the abortion issue you say is so important. Reagan signed the most liberal abortion law in the U.S. when he was governor of California. So explain to me how you can say we're upset about abortion, but yet this is your candidate.
Okay. But somewhere he was legitimated. And the challenge is, for me, as I look at it, it's two white males, right? And for me, somewhere this is sort of a race issue. Is there a distinction when we look at Carter and Reagan until Rico and the Warnock, Warnock? Is there something different at play?
I think with Rico, you have a young, fresh face. And I think when Warnock came on the scene, there was a lot of hype around him. And I also think that Tallarico has yet to have any controversies, where Warnock has had some, specifically dealing with his ex-wife. But so that we need to make sure we acknowledge those two things. But I do think that he offers what many people see as a fresh voice that they haven't heard before, because they're not listening to Raphael Warnock.
Yeah. And who qualifies fresh, I guess. It's a fresh voice, and I can see that. Young, up and coming, new. Warnock has been in politics for a couple of years now, right? 3 maybe?
So he's been there. He won in 2021.
2021, okay. 5. That's not old.
No.
In terms of politics. I can see the newness, but when we talk about the newness of what's being said, novel, he's coming with something. He's disrupting. He's disrupting, and he's hitting some MAGA folk, right? Who determines the newness? Is what I'm trying to get to.
Who determines who's legitimate?
Who's legitimate? What's new? What's novel? If we're saying it's not new, and if that's true, if it's not new, but they're hearing it now for the first time, a message that has been rejected, or that has maybe for some been heard so much that it's normal, it's expected, right? So we don't even listen to it. Where in this instance, our ears are perked. And I'm convinced that it's not so much the message as it is the messenger and who we choose to receive the message from.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of evidence that demonstrates that who's giving the cue matters. That, you look for people who are co-partisans, you look for people who look like you when you get the message. And so I think with a lot of whites, Tallarico resonates with them because he may be seeing it, they can see themselves in him. Or he's saying things that I want to say. And this might be why, Stephen Colbert brings him on as opposed to, Raphael Warnock to talk about faith and, Christian nationalism and how we respond. And so I don't want to put that past, but it is frustrating that when you've been saying something over and over again and somebody else over here says like, oh, I never heard that before. And it's... and
you've been hearing for years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the best way I think about it is woman was telling a story about how she took her daughter to a Michael McDaniel concert. And, he played a song, Keep Forgetting. And the daughter's thinking, oh my God, he ripped off Warren G. No, he did it first. Warren G sampled it, but you are treating the sample like it's the original, and that's where it gets frustrating. And but it speaks to a larger problem of that certain groups in America just aren't heard. They've been saying these things, and they're just not heard. Whereas other people can't say it.
Okay, so what does that say about our America? And the hope for mobility for persons of color. Okay, when we're saying the same message, it's not a problem with the message.
Yeah,
it's a problem with the one who's carrying the message. And if it's rooted so deeply that it even impacts our institutions that govern the country, right? Whose voices then will be allowed to be heard based on who legitimates what's being heard.
Yeah. That is one of the problems we have. I mean, one of the goals with DEI and others is finding...
It ain't done no more.
Yeah, it don't exist no more. But the idea of seeing leadership and legitimacy in places you normally would not. And this has been a bit of a concern. Now, Obama was able to do it, I think, because Obama came from a tradition that many people found acceptable. He went to law school, he was a community organizer, the way he presented himself, as opposed to being another preacher like Jesse Jackson or something like that. This is one of the major concerns a lot of people in black politics have, of who's in control of black politics and who's in control of our future if we're looking to these individuals to legitimize us.
Because and novelty is even a social construction,
Yes.
right? He's novel. It's a social construction. Obama was novel until he wasn't,
Yeah.
right? Because the moment he was novel, as he spoke at the DNC for the first time, he was novel. He was novel during the election process. But once he was elected, they told him, Republicans, you won't get nothing passed up in here. Right?
Yeah.
His novelty began to decrease, and brother had to fight. Right? He understood that within the midst of that, there were some limitations. Yeah. So there's still those social constructs.
Oh yeah, yeah. So if he spoke out on anything that dealt with race, it was automatically met with a high level of vitriol.
And not only race, if he thought he was Obamacare, good thing. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean,
that was barely passed.
Yeah.
And you have someone who's come behind him, and you have a whole lot of followers who are saying it's no good. And dismantling it wasn't perfect. Who has created the perfect policy, right? Who's created the perfect program? And yet, it could be dismantled and hurt.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Obamacare, there's only so far they can go in dismantling it because it's been in place and people like it. It's not perfect.
That also wasn't because of Obama. That was because of, I'm going to use the word, the audience that had to hear, and the participants who were engaging that said you can only take this so far. Had nothing to do with Obama himself.
No, I do think he was limited as a black man. I think there are certain things he could not address the way he wanted to. I think if he had addressed, I think if he was a white man addressing Trayvon Martin, it would have hit differently.
Okay.
If he was a white man addressing what happened with Skip Gates, it probably would have happened differently. If he was a white man wearing a tan suit, it may have happened differently.
Okay.
So there is clear evidence that a lot of the animosity towards Obama was racial. But given that, he was able to succeed in certain areas. He was able to get Obamacare through. He was able to pass certain things. He was able to make an impact in foreign policy.
I believe ultimately he will go down as one of the great presidents.
Yeah, and
I believe he'll go down as one of the great presidents.
Yeah.
And I believe it will be seen that had there not been the kinds of resistance and the reasons for the resistance, that he had been able to do so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was, I will say the man maximized everything that he had, that he was given, and he's still highly popular. I think that if he said if he ran one more time, I think he would have won if he ran a third time. But the term limits.
I like the little stuff you see on what's it, Facebook. Would you vote for me again? I think those are AI generated.
Yeah.
Would you vote for me again? Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was popular.
He was popular.
And I think of two key scandals that happened during his presidency. You had the FBI Fast and Furious, where they were tracking guns, so allowing guns back into them and seeing what would happen, and there were some people killed using those guns. You had Benghazi,
Okay.
and a lot of that is hung on Hillary Clinton. The Fast and Furious was much earlier, and I think, and then you had the rollout of the of ACA, the website, but he didn't have any. He had no major scandals of trying to cover things up.
Yeah, he was what some folks would say. He was pure.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but just and he did one wonderful things. I just in this era that we are in, Obama era, as we move forward, I think it is important that we are aware, and even again, not in any way seeking to demean Tellerico.
Yeah.
Trying to set two folk who are using the same voice,
Yeah.
who have virtually the same message, and one is seen as new and novel, and understanding who legitimates who, right? Race is part of that. Institutional power structures are part of that, right? There are some elements there that legitimate and gives one power. I'm saying the brother, I'm talking about Tallarico, has a broad reach.
Yep.
He's one in his faith articulation and his ability to be seen as a Christian talking to other Christians, and not as a politician using biblical jargon or scripture just for the heck of it to try to sound good. It's working. Religious left Democrats, it's working, it's reaching into Republican spheres, it's reaching Black church, right? Because the message is one that they can identify with. I mean, that we can identify with.
Yeah.
So when you hear him talk, right? But the legitimacy, right, comes from the power base, comes from race factor. Comes from a place, would I be going too far to say, of racism?
No, I mean, the left, so I think the individuals in the MAGA crowd will openly admit they have some level of racial animus. Or in the sense that...
Some?
Well, we'll say that. And there is a considerable amount of it amongst Democrats. And that's something that's not fully addressed. I mean, you saw it when Obama ran. It still exists because you have Black people. Let's take Austin, for instance. And the city is so liberal, but yet it is chasing out its Black population.
It's so liberal, but yet so conservative. If you look at the makeup, if you look at the institutions, UT, the more liberal, the thinking places they want to restrict them, right? The early days when I was young, the hippie, flat peace, love, it's liberal. If you look at its governing structure and how the city is run, Austin is a conservative city. No,
Austin is a southern city. I mean, Austin worked very hard to keep Blacks out of the city council.
Yes.
And they, you had one person almost win, and they changed the rules altogether. Austin is a southern city. Austin was segregated. That's why they paint themselves as liberal. They ignore the fact that they are a southern city, that they purposely segregated the city.
Thank you very much.
And there's this problem of, well, we're liberal, but I say everybody's liberal till the Black folks show up. and that's the problem with the Democratic Party. So I think about April Cooper, who was screaming at the guy watching birds. The brother was like, I'm gonna tell the police there's a Black man after me, blah, blah, blah. So basically going off. He's registered as a Democrat. And that's problematic. If we're hearing, when you see the videos and watch the things that the Clinton administration was saying in the 90s, well, these are Democrats.
I think you should watch what the Clintons were saying at one point as she was running against Obama.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? The point of, at what point do we want to legitimize and at what point do we want to delegitimize,
Yeah.
right? I want to win. I want to delegitimize you, right? And that hints of, whiteness came out.
No, I mean, the whole late night call thing.
But she's been a strong advocate, right?
Yeah.
A strong supporter. But those are also realities that I think as people of color, I think that we need to be aware of. That rather than jump on a bandwagon, and when we do jump on the bandwagon, at least be aware of some of the nuances, right?
Yeah.
Of what's going on and what's making this possible. And that a lot of times, come on, again, in no way demeaning, drawing attention to the differences and what's happening in a political system and a political structure, right? There are some things in place that's working for his advantage. One is race. The other is a structure that is okay hearing his voice because they've legitimized him based on, what's that? You're more like me. And that's always a safe place. And I guess, and maybe that's a word that I've been looking at. He's safe.
Yeah.
He's safe for the Democrats. He's safe for MAGA.
Yeah.
Because he looks like me, right? I remember when I did my student teaching, Humble, Texas, and Humble was back in the day when it was an oil community.
Yeah.
There wasn't many black folk there. I mean, we're going back to
Yeah.
70s, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't many black folks there. Did my student teaching and had a great experience. All right. As I was leaving, the teacher, I think it was Larry, I forget Larry's last name. Don, we're so glad that you were here. Our students don't really get to engage black people. I had one student in this class, Joe. Now Joe was a little bright, but Joe was black. And I said, Larry, but you have Joe here. What about Joe? Oh, we don't see him as black. You can be legitimized.
Yeah.
If in some way or fashion you become safe.
Yeah.
He became safe because they were able to make him more like them.
Yeah. The thing that any candidate wants to do is have the voter see themselves in you.
See themselves?
The voter wants to see themselves
Okay.
in you. So Bill Clinton playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall is like, oh,
He cool.
all right. Like, yeah, he cool. Like, okay. And the various things that candidates will do is like, they want you to see yourself in them, and if you do, and you'll feel more like voting for them.
Okay.
Also, I think this speaks to the concern that a lot of black people have about bringing up black candidates and who has control over black candidates. That I think when you move away from a local level, that you don't have as much control over them. And you are now dealing with a much larger group. And we need to think about what this means and what is the relationship that, in terms of thinking about black politics and making sure black interests are heard and advanced, that the people who say they are our allies are truly our allies.
And hoping and believing that Tallarico is going to be an ally.
Yeah.
That he has a sincere heart.
Yeah, I have no reason to believe that he will all of a sudden turn on
Yes,
black people.
and don't want to make this something negative about. Like I said, he's got my vote.
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask then, in this season, whereas we are looking at how religion is used in politics, and in this time within a Trump era where we have a young brother coming up who's able to use religion, who's able to use Bible in the kind of way that allows him to reach the masses and allows them to be able to look at themselves and begin to understand injustice.
Yeah.
Allows them to begin to understand what it means to love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And consider who your neighbor is. It's not just the person who looks like you and who sits next to you.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. It's great. But in this season, because so many are seeing it as something new,
Yeah.
is it a time that we are looking at rebranding Christianity? Or are we reclaiming it and people are just willing to hear it now for the first time?
I think for so many people, for many people, what Tallarico and Warnock are doing is reclaiming. They are saying, "Oh, this is the true gospel. The gospel is not about power. It is about loving your neighbor. It is and understanding that love is not just a feeling; it is an action."
Okay.
And I think King would say that he was reclaiming the gospel with what he had to offer. Douglas, David Walker, they all felt like they were reclaiming the gospel. Like, no, this is what the true gospel is. You all have taken it and turned it into something that it is not.
In fact, for Tellerico, right? Because it's so loud.
Yeah.
And the question becomes, for those, this is not the gospel of Jesus, right? And he's able, with his style,
Yeah.
with his finesse, with his skill,
Yeah.
to be able to say, no, it's not. Let's share with you what it is. It's a counter to what has been perceived as gospel.
Yeah.
So in that sense, maybe it's also rebranding in some way?
Yeah, I do think it's for people who've understood Christianity over the past, let's say, 40 years or so, it is rebranding. Because of the kind of death of the mainline or the mainline denominations, that the evangelicals have basically been able to take over what it means to be a Christian. They've dictated that space.
Yeah, I like that. They've dictated that space for a large part.
And so I'll go on to that later on, but because of this, when people think of what it means to be a Christian, they think of this. But the problem is, and this is a problem America has had for centuries, is when they think of Christians, they think of a white face, but they forget the black face that's in church every Sunday.
Oh, the immigrant.
Yeah, or the immigrant. And that becomes a major concern but it goes back to speaking to the fact that certain people are going to be heard more than others. So men are going to be heard more than women. Wealthy people are probably going to be heard more than poor people. White people are going to be heard more than non-white people. And it speaks to some of the biases that we already have that we have to work through.
Okay. Hence our challenge. Are there those, and we say that we have to work through, will we ever really be able to work through it when we look at legitimacy is in the hands of those with power? That's going to be the wealthy. Mm-hmm. That's going to be those who are strong politically, who are able to write policy, make policy. It's in the hands of those who are non-white, right? The audiences, the people who hear the message, because if it doesn't feel safe, they won't legitimate you. Right? And if that power, realistically and for the greater part, lies in the hands of a white population, what does that say?
For me to say there has not been progress is wrong. I do believe there has been progress. I do believe that white people being around more black people has reduced some of that angst that's there. And again, there is a lot of angst, so it's come down a little bit. This is something that's going to take a while. We are still struggling with who we are. We have found great success. We've done some amazing things as a nation. But
so you're saying, as a nation, struggling with who we are, as a nation,
as
not
a nation,
a people.
Okay. And we are, I think right now we're at a point where if we start being truthful with each other, we can heal. And when I say being truthful, it means getting rid of labels. Let's sit down and talk about what we want. And we'll see that there's so many things that people have in common. But you use small little things to divide. And historically, race has been a great divider. The extent to which it will remain that way, I'm not clear. But if we are thinking about a certain group having the power to legitimize, I think that will always be the case. But I think about Dr. Anthony Penn at Rice. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been talking to him about this. And he's talking about, and one of the things he said is, we keep expecting we're going to reach that thing where everything's perfect. We're going to reach that mountaintop. And his argument is like, no, the oppressive people will always be there. Evil will always be there.
Jesus says, the poor you will have with you always.
Yeah, but your job is to make his job a little more difficult each day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is will and all that to say that we need to be aware of what's happening. We need to be aware when we see the differences in what's going on, and at least be able to look at it and ask the questions.
Yeah.
Kind of like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Do you think where we are, and we've acknowledged that Brother Tellerico, that there's a distinction, that somewhere we need some more legitimizing of our persons of color who are giving out the same message, that it might be heard. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Brother Tellerico, with his skill, again, this on some levels I believe is intentional. It's he knows what he's doing. With the skill, the knowledge, the gifts. So I'm going to believe that some of that is also you're gifted and able to do some things. To speak across lines, that he will be can be a part of a system that begins to broaden the definitions of what it means to be heard and who can be heard and what it means to be seen and have all voices. Not only listened to, but really heard.
I think he has that potential. I think he has that ability, and it's, I think, King has talked about it again. Racism is white people's sickness, but we show all the symptoms.
Okay.
And the argument about, freedom schools, they're needed more in white communities than they are in black communities. That a lot of the work has to be done internally. That blaming black people for racism is like blaming women for sexism, and it's like, no, it's you all are doing this. Mm-hmm. And my hope is that he has a message that will allow people to maybe put their guard down and listen. And I do think one of the reasons he's been able to reach a lot of individuals is because the way he talks, the way he looks, he can disarm a lot of people. And so they're willing to listen. And he's saying things that they've been taught since they were as a little kid in Sunday school. And he's getting at the fact that, all this vitriol, that's not the Christ or the loving God.
I'm going to ask you. You said what they've been taught.
Yeah.
I'm prone to believe that they've heard the stories, mm-hmm. but they've not been taught the lessons of what it means to love everybody. Right? That they know the stories, but the prominent lessons that were to come from that, mm-hmm. they're overlooked, and sometimes intentionally.
Going back to the subversion of Christianity, he starts off talking about the people who heard but did not do, and there's I think even Christ says there are people who could not believe, but if they do, they may not hear my teachings. But they do it. That means it's truly in their heart. And there are people who hear my teachings and swear they're a part of this, but do not. I think this kind of also goes back to King, is when you get somebody to disarm and strip them down bare and say, you know what is right. Come on, let's do it.
So what you're saying is maybe mm-hmm. that a Talarico has the ability to disarm so that they will listen.
Yeah.
And potentially
mm-hmm.
be moved.
Yes. Whereas Warnock, I think, given a lot of these individuals' priors, that just seeing him puts the guard up.
Okay, and when you say priors, because you mentioned Reagan, you said Reagan had priors, mm-hmm. but he was still the chosen one. So priors are relative.
What I mean
they
is,
want to legitimate.
I'm talking about the priors of the person looking. So they have prejudices. They already have ideas.
Okay, I thought you were talking about in terms of his prior situations or whatever. Okay.
No, but the idea is the person looking at him has expectations or things like that, and it will take a little bit longer. I think a one-on-one conversation, I think Warnock could break a lot of people down to where they bring their defenses down and they'd be like, oh. But if he's just talking to you on TV, I don't think it'll have as much. It would take a lot more time for that to work.
Okay, so Warnock has the skills, has the abilities, has the gifts, the graces, the talents, mm-hmm. Has all he needs. Mm-hmm. But it's going to take more time because he's going to have to do a little bit more work in order to be heard because of the color of his skin.
Yeah, it's to disarm them. That it's going to take a lot more work.
So we can do it. It's that age-old adage, we just gotta work a little bit harder. that in 2026, in the political sphere, wherever you find yourselves, that because of race, that you can get there, but it's gonna be easier for Talarico than it is for Warnock.
I think, in terms of disarming these individuals, yeah.
Okay.
I think in terms of disarming these individuals, it will be. I think, not to say that I'm trying my best to not characterize them as they're all horrible human beings, but I think they. And I don't want.
I mean, it's a system. It's a system.
Yeah.
And a system that's been built for a lot of years, right? It's steeped. You teach folk and it's reproduced.
Yeah.
There are fears on the other side too, right? Yeah. I think white men would say they are the minority, as they get, right? So and those who seem to be very, very liberal as they're growing up, as they reach that level, when they have to move into the system, one, they learn to play the game. Two, the fear is there, so they want to maintain what is, because that's also power. And we want our share of power. So we keep the systems in place that help us to maintain power, and we will even use religion to do that.
Yeah, power gives you control over your life.